Some people are in situations that are in super high stress. There are no two ways about that. But with the appropriate coaching, one can find a solution that brings us back to the center of calmness. Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of the Center of Calmness. We are super blessed this afternoon, or this evening if you're in the UK, or actually later in the evening, to have Jason Boorman with us. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, thank you for having me.
As we were discussing a little bit ago, you're calling in from Swindon in the UK. How are things in Swindon these days?
Weather's getting colder, it's definitely feeling autumny in the air. Yeah, things are good. We're coming out of lockdown a little bit. Things are getting more relaxed, and still face coverings when you go in shops and stuff. But
I see.
That, yeah.
How about your economy? Have things started to restart? Are more folks back out working as opposed to being stuck at home at this point?
Yeah, I think more and more people are going back to work, and so the economy is on the go again.
That is super glad to hear. Now, what really attracted us, I think, us together today was when you told me about your, I hesitate to say audience, but your client group that you're building your coaching practice around, which really caught my attention. I'm actually I have a family of my own. I have a wife and 8 children, and so I think there's somebody in my family that fits in your client group as well. I wonder if you might just describe who you work with and kind of how you came to do that.
So I've recently qualified as a coach, so I think it's important to start there. We have a great group called the Coaching Masters. They're quite big in the UK. And they're a fairly new company, but they're growing all the time. I think that's a great place to go and train if you want qualifications in coaching. And basically, I've got my qualifications through them, and I've just started my own company now, and it's Harmony Mindset Coaching is what I describe my coaching to be. And basically what that is I help working mums. I specialize in helping working mums work on their mindset, become the best sort of versions of themselves in order to distribute that amongst their family and create an even better experience for them.
Well, I can't think of a group of people that are under more stress than working moms, and that's really what got my attention. And it's super cool that you've decided to focus on this group, and I'm sure they're going to find tons of value in what you have to offer. Could you let the audience know a bit more about how you came to? I mean, Harmony Mindset Coaching sounds fairly general. It would apply to. I mean, shoot, I could probably use that. But how did you come to find the need and the interest in working moms for this kind of coaching?
So I used to be an au pair. I've worked a lot with children, and got to know mums and stuff over the years, and realised that was a big pain point for them. Was they were under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and I saw it as coming from a lot of overwhelm. And I feel like that's a big catalyst basically for stress. And that stress is like this byproduct of overwhelm. So what I really like to do with my clients is I do a lot of metaphor work, because I find it's a lot easier to explain, and you kind of have a lot of realizations around your stress and where it comes from if you put it into a metaphor. So that's a really good way of discovering where you're stressed and what it is about it that you're seeing as a stress. So yeah.
Interesting. So if I could just put a scenario in front of you where a working mom gives you a call, they just come home at 6:30. They're in a relatively high pressure, not a very highly paid, but a very relatively high pressure job where there's a lot of demands put on them, a lot of angry personalities. Right? They've just come home. One of their kids, broke the stereo or broke something important. And they're calling you and take it from there. How would you speak into that situation?
So basically, I find out as much as I could about what's going on, like what. So coaching is very much about asking questions and having them figure out the answers a lot of the time for themselves through realizations and stuff like that. Um, and basically just providing that space for someone to open up and see what they can uncover basically through your questions. You can take them on routes that they otherwise wouldn't get to.
I see. So, in your experience with working moms, what kind of routes? I mean, given that scenario that I laid out, which I think is fairly common, right? Where a working mom, unlike say even a professional, just a professional without children per se, the challenge with the overwhelm is that the stress is coming in from multiple different angles, right? How does the harmony mindset approach address that that underlying foundational factor and take them through this journey? Maybe if you could just add a bit more detail as the kind of journey you might take a working mom down when they have so many different stressors that they're dealing with all at once.
So like previous metaphors that have come up, if I take them through the metaphor technique,
Yeah.
So previous ones that have come up was overwhelm was described as like a burst water pipe that was like constantly filling up, and basically they didn't have enough fingers and toes to plug all these different holes that are
Sure.
with them. And that's what they
Okay.
describe their overwhelm to be like.
Okay.
And the stress. So I said, what do you desire to feel like? So you just do the little mindset switch and get them to focus on what they do actually want the outcome to be from this. And then you come up with a metaphor for that. So this particular mum come up with the idea of this bumblebee. A bumblebee is very methodical. Like it might have to pitch on a million flowers by the time that in its short lifespan. So no one should be like more overwhelmed than the bee. But he doesn't get overwhelmed because he's methodical. He pitches on one flower at a time, and he does what he needs to do at that flower. So it's sort of like before he then moves on to the next. And it's a good metaphor for life, really, I think. And she was quite surprised that she'd come up with that because, as I said, she didn't know. Like when I said we were going to do metaphor, she was like, "What? I don't know how I'm going to come
right
how to link these two together."
Yeah.
But in the end, like she got the bee to like mend the water pipe with its honey, sticky honey, and that was sort of
Really.
So there's like a Japanese art form called kunsagi. It's where they like mend broken things with gold.
Okay.
And she's seen this and like the gold reminded her of honey and stuff like that. So it was just weird how it all come together in the end, and just through asking questions and we elaborate on the metaphoric world that she creates. You can just bring a lot of answers and a lot of realizations and stuff like that. So
that is really neat. Just to clarify, the metaphors that you're mentioning, they come from your client, right? Not from you.
Yeah. So the client comes up with it, and but you lead the story almost, and you ask questions to explore that world that they've created. So you might ask them what else is going on in the scene and try and build the biggest picture you can.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the specific example, right, where you have a brass pipe that's got water flowing through it and more than 10 holes, right? where you simply can't plug them all. Yeah, that's such a vivid picture, and there's so many of us that are in that mode continuously, right? And then to have the other mind picture, and I'm just envisioning what that process must have been like to get from point A to point B. But there's really a point C, right? So you have a brass pipe, and then you have a bumblebee going from flower to flower, and then you have that bumblebee bringing the honey back to
Yeah,
do the pipe and fixing it. That's just crazy.
it's
Wow.
like
So
when
you
you
put
go
all that together.
when you're going through it, you're like, how is this going to connect? Like in your
Yeah.
head, oh god, how are we going to bring these two together? Basically,
Right.
in the real world, you've got the pain and then the outcome that you want, the desired outcome, and then you want to create the same thing in the metaphoric world as well. So you've got the pain described as a metaphor, and then the desire described as a metaphor, and then it's how can the bee help the pipe?
That is super cool. Now, what happened with this client once you got this metaphor put together?
She just had like a massive wow moment and realization that what she needs to do is be more methodical, and that I help her like handle her overwhelm.
Awesome. And did
She,
did she did she come back to you sometime after your sessions with her and let you know say what the results were?
yeah, she's just. I was continuing to work with her, like so.
Okay,
That was just one of her sessions. That I do a program basically. So one of our sessions was we decided to focus around a pain that she had, and overwhelm came up, and
I
like
gotcha.
feeling lost, and we
That's cool.
decided to go that way with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's just one session that we just discussed, how would your client relationship typically work? How many sessions would you be conducting with the client, or over what time frame would the relationship last to the point where you brought them to a real coaching based solution?
So I like 12-week programs, but some people do six.
Okay,
It's basically like as much value as I can give in that 12 weeks or 6 weeks. But we meet for at least one sit down session a week, ideally.
I gotcha. Okay, and so each session is it pre-programmed? Do you have like an agenda that you're giving the client to work from, or a provocative question to start that's different each time?
Yeah, so
Or is it more of a check-in and you just kind of let it ride session by session as the client's needs dictate?
9 times out of 10, the client brings their problem and they want to discuss something or other and find out how you can help them. Nothing's really planned in my head. I can't really come with those. For I have to come with a bit of an open mind and just roll with whatever comes to me. And I kind of know what questions to ask from that, basically. And the session's formed, and then based on what they say, like something a trigger in my mind about a technique I've learned, and then how I can help them, and then that's how we get into the more structured techniques. So.
Awesome. And so, if I could ask, especially either on the front end before you've really introduced your first result to the client, or even midstream when maybe they're getting stuck, maybe you've already delivered them a lot of value, but they've got 8 more weeks to go. Oh, have some techniques to draw them into the conversation, right? To get them to talk about the real problems that they're experiencing, and not just a general, "Oh, I'm stressed out," but to really start thinking about what's underneath. How do you bring the client to the point where they're willing to open up and share?
Um, I let them know that they're in a safe space, that there's no judgment from me, and a lot of the times they first present surface level stuff, but I know it's surface level because there's no emotion attached to it. You're getting deeper when they start talking about how they feel. So I just get to that point, and then we're in the sort of conversations I like. It's where the magic happens. It's where the transformation happens. It's where the realizations happen as well. So.
Sure, right. Just
Yeah.
going through it, it sounds like there's almost like three levels of conversation, right? There's the kind of the pleasantries, and then you're once you've reached the point where they feel safe enough to talk with you, then they start talking. But then there's really another level, right, where the real epiphanies are occurring both with you as well as with them. Has a client ever surprised you once you reach that lower level of the real truth as it comes out? Has a client ever kind of thrown you a curveball?
A lot of clients get emotional, like when you get down to that level, and like it's quite nice to share a space with them because they're being their raw, authentic self, like in that moment, like so that's what makes coaching worthwhile to me, I think.
Of course, yeah. Just being able to bring folks to a place they would never reach themselves. Now, as I understand it, you have a launch of a program underway. Would you like to talk about that for a moment as to what's in your program and kind of the schedule that you're planning?
So with the coaching company I do my courses for at the moment, I'm on like a business launching course. So that's due to finish at the end of September. And basically, like the finished product is a coaching business. So I'll be fully launched with like a website and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's
Now, once you get the program launched, is that still a one-on-one offering, or are you considering a group or perhaps online hosted materials? What kind of delivery mechanism are you going to use?
at the moment it's just one-to-one course, but in the future
Okay.
I may add more and more stuff. Just build it up. I've got to learn what's out there and um, how I can use the market basically, and what I can
Gotcha.
create. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, sky's the limit, right? Whichever flavor works, and particularly whichever type of program the working mom can access. I suppose that it can be difficult to even schedule coaching time, right, with such a compressed schedule that most working moms are under consistently.
Yeah.
So such a nice opportunity with your website launch coming up. And now, if I understand that, that's going to be jasonboormancoaching.com, right?
Yeah.
But no need to go there yet because it won't be launched until end of September. So probably either the last day of September, first week of October, right, for folks to visit you there.
Yeah.
In between or in the meantime, we have of course, your regular Facebook profile where folks can interact with you. I put the banner up on the screen there for everybody, but that's just Facebook. Jason Boorman, Boorman, would be the profile to reach. And I personally hope that this message and the replay and the upcoming audio cast that we'll be launching reaches hopefully millions, right, of working moms, and some of which would gladly avail of your services to bring them to a better place, a better harmonic mindset. And I really appreciate that metaphor technique that you shared. It's super powerful, especially as those before and after, and then that Japanese thing. And what was that Japanese thing you mentioned again?
So it's a real Japanese art when
Yeah,
they mend things with gold. Like so, if a plate breaks, there's like a river of gold. They believe that like the cracks that people have, the scars, are what make people beautiful and unique. So they kind of
right.
translate that to like um, pottery and things like that that may be broken. Um,
That's awesome. And could you say again the name of the technique?
so of
The
the
Japanese name?
kunsagi.
Kunsagi. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's interesting and a perfect concept to end on, right? The fact that the scars are part of what make us. And
And
those are the marks that help make us who we are.
people should hide away from that because that's what makes us beautiful and unique. And I really love that and resonate with that. sort of ideal. And definitely get yourself coached, because we can't see our own blind spots sometimes, and we don't know where we're going wrong. And this through coaching and these powerful questions that really get you to a place where you have clarity around what it is that you need.
Awesome. On that note, I really appreciate, Jason, that you came to join us here at the Center of Calmness. Super powerful insights and wisdom that you're providing us, and I hope that those in the audience who are working moms who could leverage your support will reach out to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. And for the Center of Calmness, I'm DK Warner.